Hello, my name is Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, and I would like to welcome you to another edition of our paper recital program. And today we have a dear member of our soul family, whose name is Renée Maisch from Sydney, Australia, who has
Okay.
Yeah, from Australia, who's actually been in touch with me, and she's a very fine lady. And she has chosen to actually read a paper that is called, let me share screen with you and actually show it to you. This paper itself is, I believe, is called, by the way, let me tell you something. These papers are found on both WordPress.com and academia.com, .edu, I'm sorry. And this one that I'm showing you is actually from WordPress.com. And here it shows the list of papers that are pertinent or similar. And here's the one that she's going to be reading. What led, let me just activate it. What led the negative aliens to be what they are and why they became parasitic-vampiric. In fact, this question, this kind of that I call it short essay, was inspired, by questions posed by, a member of our soul family. It wasn't actually Renee, but that asked these two questions. What led the negative aliens to be what they are, and also why they became parasitic. So if you look at this, you'll see the paper addresses both questions, which Renee is going to read for us. And, if you go back again, and actually, if you take a look at in here, when you go to WordPress.com, which, by the way, you can Google my name and you can get to these things very easy. It's not a difficult thing. Once you go there, on top of any paper you find on WordPress.com, you're going to find this type of menu, which tells you papers on consciousness, on creation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you click on that, it will go to that particular paper. This particular one, because it's on negative aliens, so it's part of this group. And this is where we got started again, okay? So that's that. The other thing is that you can also go to academia.edu. And once you go there, you just go up there and search for my name. And I already put the words in here so we don't have to type. And if you just put Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi comes in, you double click on it, and you are going to go into a series of papers that has all this. And again, this is the paper that Renee is going to be reading. It just happens to be, it's one of the last papers that I put on academia.edu. Now, academia.edu does not have all my papers, but it has a sample of about 130 of them. Here it is, it tells you 132 papers. And I will eventually put all these things together, but we're also designing our own website, which all the papers, also thousands of slides that I've done during the past 10 years, they will be showing in there, as well as there's going to be all the videos. So it will be a comprehensive educational site, which will be launched hopefully soon, okay? Two other things I wanted to tell you briefly. One thing is that you might want to, if you are not a member of Facebook, you would want to go ahead and join us. I have about 7 different groups that are on spiritual science, different aspects, going from multidimensional consciousness to spirituality, to mechanics of cosmos, etc., etc., etc. But I am consolidating all these things into one, and this is the one that it is, which is, says Dr. Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi speaks on consciousness, creation, cosmos, and I have to put etc. because they don't let you have any more. But if you go and read the description, it tells you it pretty much covers anything that you want, from telling you who you are, what you are, where you come from, where you're heading, and covers all topics from God's source to creation to consciousness to cosmos to the universe, morphogenetic system, to everything. Okay, so anyway, this will be a comprehensive site, but another thing that you can go through. And the other thing that I was going to tell you is that we have launched a new video channel, which is under the title of the Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi channel. And it will have, you'll see that all these videos, all these video recitals are in here. In fact, this is what we have already done in the past 2 weeks, with a bunch of them actually sitting to be posted. And we're working hard to bring all these things for you. So, you will have all these things, a very comprehensive library at your disposal for your education, okay? So with that introduction, I would like to give the podium, if I may say so, or the screen. We're in the age of AI. I hate to tell you, I despise.
Unfortunately.
I despise the word AI. Okay.
So do I. It gives me nightmares, literally.
I complain, going like this. My son lives with me. He says, "Dad, what is it?" Comes to the rescue, and I said, "Because these computers, they freeze up, and also these programs, Facebook, YouTube, and all this stuff, they do crazy stuff. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I used to write software programs, so I know these systems from ground up, from the machine language, software language, all this kind of stuff. I'm one of the people who started writing codes, years and years ago, that, put the foundation for structural analysis programs for tall buildings. You know what I'm saying? Frame analysis and all this stuff, which is matrix, all matrix analysis. And by the way, just quickly tell you, this is incredible that after my clarion call, I came to the understanding that everything that I am doing has been purposeful. What I did at the university, the stuff that I, emphasized on, everything that's useful for spiritual science and all this stuff. I'm sure you will agree with me that your life is the same. As you go back, even those moments of despair or anger, or you felt you didn't, meet up to your highest standard and stuff, is really nonsense. It was purposed for you not to go in that direction and go to another direction to get the lessons that you want. Life is all about lessons, and it's all about expansion of consciousness. Okay, and I've always said that God tells you only have this this thing to expand your consciousness. In other words, I grant you consciousness, you expand it. You're responsible for doing that. And the very, very thing that you call life is nothing but consciousness vibration, or what I refer to sentient quantum consciousness vibration, okay? Which we have oodles of papers on those, hopefully show up one by one on video. Okay, without any delay, I'm sure that Renée is anxious to get started. So I will give the screen to her and to introduce herself and to talk to us and start reading. And then I will be back to have a discussion with her. She has questions. She has very nice questions. I'm sure by the indication of it. I don't like rehearsed questions, so I don't know what the exact questions are, but we will try our best to respond to that and satisfy, satisfy her and also hopefully the audience with regard to the answer to such questions. Okay, so here it is, Renee. It's all yours.
Hi, my name's Renée. I'm from the Gold Coast in Australia. It's actually quite early here in the morning. So do excuse me, I've got a cup of tea that I'll be sipping on from time to time. But a little bit about me. So I've been in contact with Mohsen since it was before Christmas, maybe November, October. And I had quite a cataclysmic spiritual awakening in 2019 in June, which I believe to be a Kundalini awakening of some degree. And that really rocked my world, literally turned everything upside down, and was quite a confusing and scary time for me. I didn't really know what was happening. But I suppose in some regard, this cataclysmic moment had been building up. It wasn't just something that happened overnight. It was something that was building up, and there were certain things that happened, or trigger points, I would suppose, activation points up until that moment. But essentially, once I'd had this awakening of sorts, it really blew my world apart, and I didn't really have anyone to speak to about it. And I had to go through a big journey of self-discovery and understanding that I wasn't in fact crazy, and that what was happening to me was something that was quite a natural process, but yeah, very confusing. So a lot of soul searching and searching for understanding and knowledge brought me to Mohsen, which I'm extremely grateful for. And a lot of his papers gave me a lot of comfort, because it just resonated with a lot of my experiences. And one of the reasons why I chose this paper is because I have had a lot of experiences with these negative aliens, or some people like to call them entities, because the word alien doesn't really resonate with them. So each or entity, alien, same deal in my mind. But yeah, I think that was probably one of the scariest things that happened to me, was my experience with these negative aliens. And I had initially had my first experience with one of these entities or aliens actually before I had this spiritual awakening, when I was around 21. And this experience was incredibly terrifying. And I think to some degree, it closed off my awareness to being able to experience anything on a dimensional level. Or maybe I actually closed myself off to it because it had been that scary for me and I didn't really understand. So for many years, it's like I think when I was younger, I was quite aware. And then once this experience happened to me, I had just closed myself off to it for a very long time. And then I obviously started going back on this journey of building up to a point where I was going to maybe reawaken to some degree. And then after I had this awakening and able to experience different dimensions again, I started having these experiences with these, consciously experiencing the negative aliens and what they were doing to me, in terms of harvesting energy and all kinds of nefarious things. And I suppose it's just a very confusing time for a lot of people. And I've already met a handful of people that have actually had similar experiences to me in person, spoken to a lot of people online about it. So this is something it's not just something that's only happening to a select few. It's definitely happening to a lot of people. Even though I haven't met a lot of people directly, I know there's a lot of people online that are expressing that they're struggling with these experiences and they don't really understand what's happening, which is why it's very important to get this information out there. And so incredibly grateful for Mohsen, who has dedicated his life to, compiling such an extensive library of knowledge and understanding of, what's happening to us. And I think that's such a big question that a lot of people have is, who are we and what are we doing here and why do these things happen to us? So yeah, I've just found the information that Mohsen has written to be extremely helpful to my journey, and hopefully it helps a lot of other people as well, and I'm sure that it will. And incredibly grateful that I can help out in disseminating this information in this format. So I think the only thing left to do is to actually get started and start reading the document. So I'll kick off. And so the document that I have chose is, as Mohsen mentioned, what led the negative aliens to be what they are and why they became parasitic-vampiric. And I'll start with the abstract. Actually, before I get started, I'd just like to preface this by saying within the document, this is such a comprehensively compiled document that Mohsen has taken the time to put references to each item that might be a question, and links to other papers that he's written that are relevant. So it's really quite a all-encompassing document of knowledge, really. So you can read through the document and go, I don't really know what that means. And there might be a reference point there that you can scroll down and link to another document that's relevant. So they're very, as I said, all-encompassing in terms of being able to search for knowledge, and they can take you off on little tangents here and there. So you'll find yourself kind of coming to the document and then going off and having a look at something else. And so definitely worthwhile having a read if there's something that I read here and you don't really understand what that means, and maybe I don't ask a question at the end relating to that. Very worthwhile going into the document, having a look for yourself to see if there's a reference document there. So let's get started. I'll start with the abstract. And so an overview of why negative aliens became parasitic-vampiric, together with the steps that led to being what they are, has been presented. The discussion makes a reference to the concept of 7 deadly or cardinal sins that is elucidated to be the very reasons they become fallen from the grace of God. Also included is a brief description of what negative aliens represent, highlighting the most general steps in negative aliens beginning to condemn humans and other solar organic sentient beings to a consciousness trap, becoming plagued by unconsciousness enslavement. And I think it's on that point about unconsciousness enslavement, I think to a certain degree that's what I was before I had that cataclysmic awakening and not really understanding, what is all this stuff? And people don't really understand, and they're very scared because when they're in that unconsciousness enslavement, they have no idea about this other stuff that's going on in the background, and that's the way that they want it, right? All right, I'll try not to interrupt too much more. Let's get started. So introduction. The following essay was inspired as a response to the question posed by a soul seeker, and the response being, what led the negative aliens to be what they are? As oppressors, suppressors, and tyrannical controllers of humanity through imposition and continuous streaming of various mind-controlling software subroutines by holographic inserts upon humanity and application of their other nefarious AI machinery, having practically condemned humanity to a prison of unconsciousness, the negative aliens have reversed and corrupted human consciousness to a point that is highly evident in our blended reality. Thus, in a way, humans have been conditioned to behave in a similar way as their negative alien controllers. This is highly apparent as reflected in the dogma of self-destructive behavior in humanity, which is commonly classified as the 7 cardinal or deadly sins, which is commonly classified under false pride, envy, wrath, greed, lust, gluttony, and sloth. Yet the concept of sin is delusional and synthetic, effectuated via the imposition of the Negative Aliens AI software programming with the underlying purpose of instigating and promoting hypocrisy and superstition via a variety of concocted religions by the negative aliens. Excuse me. This in turn has led to certain types of aforementioned self-destructive behaviors, leading to relinquishing one's precious loosh. Did we want to expand on what loosh is maybe at this point, just in case people don't know what that is?
Sure. I think I've got a bunch of slides that you've probably seen them on Facebook, but also a full-size paper. I will publish it pretty soon. Maybe you will come and do it. But loosh, basically what it is, it's the essence of low frequency consciousness. You know, you've got your energies are in your blood. Okay, your blood carries the energy, which could be spiritual or it could be low energies. In fact, I don't know in English we say that, but in the Middle East, when you want to tell a person kindly to calm down, you say, my friend, don't dirty your blood. Okay? And actually what that means is the frequency of consciousness down. They don't realize what they're saying in terms of scientifically, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
that's what it is. When the frequency of consciousness comes down, which is due to all kinds of things, I don't want to go through it, I don't want to interrupt Renée finish her stuff, but basically fear, anxiety, the worst thing is anger. You know what I'm saying? Prejudice, da. And she'll be talking about a bunch of them. And once you do this frequency of consciousness comes down and the quality of your blood actually changes. And you create what's known as loosh. And this is what the negative aliens live upon, because they can't relate to the high frequencies. It burns the heck out of them, like putting like these bugs that get zapped in the patio, you know, the lights, you put the lights, you know, in the summer night, and it would be like really, I mean, it literally is like that. So they can't do that. So they have to, this is why they lurk in the lower dimensions. In fact, the whole concept of underworld comes from that. They cannot be in the dark. They cannot live through solar energies, you know, sun and stuff like this. And it has to be low consciousness energies, because these creatures, they're not like us. They don't even have tangible energies. Okay?
Which is why they need us, right?
Why they need us. And they take something that is organic, real, okay, and they put it in their AI machinery to create copies of things, which is the AI. Those are just copies. They're like clones. They're like taking pictures, like taking a photograph of something. In fact, they've taken a photograph of your soul in soul capture technology, and I don't want to get into that. Please, don't get me started.
You go off on many tangents.
No, they're all connected.
They are.
And it is, I'm sure, you know, I've never had anybody so far, you know, complaining even in long, you know, videos that I presented to them 2.5, 3 hours. And I was surprised, and nobody said, "Whoa, stop talking, buddy." You know. But
yeah.
I think it helps to encompass, as you said, the papers are in there. I think I might have reference to a paper on loosh, which unfortunately is not ready. But I will, now that you talked about it, I'll go back in there and dig it out. I keep promising everybody this.
You've got to do it all now, Mohsen.
Oh my God, I'm trying to put 3 papers on right now for a PhD student, which on Saturday has an interview with me. But anyway, so are you happy with the answer? Or
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I have an understanding of what loosh is, but I think maybe if this is the first time these ideas are being introduced to someone, I just thought I might expand on that topic just right early on in the start, so they understand that this is kind of the currency or the thing that the energy that the aliens are feeding off. But I'll keep going. So I'll just kind of start off from where I left off. So these in turn has led certain types of aforementioned self-destructive behaviors, leading to relinquishing one's precious loot, which we just spoke about, upon the negative aliens, which are the negative aliens are dependent and prey in order to sustain themselves and their nefarious AI machinery. And we will get into that a bit later. But yet the 7 so-called cardinal or deadly sins, no doubt initially promoted by the Vatican under the Catholic religion, epitomize what got the negative aliens into trouble, eventually becoming fallen from the grace of God. And now they have adopted these self-destructive concepts into their AI holographic mind controlling software, programming inserts to create mayhem and chaos in human society by fabricating the concept of sin, followed by such things as guilt, shame, doubt, etc., leading to anxiety, fear, and in turn self-loathing. As a result, they have managed to create a self-automated scheme of extracting and harvesting loosh from humanity by compelling humanity to undergo the futile process of reincarnation after reincarnation, while they have become adept in human soul recycling through their astral plane. This has reduced humans to become akin to farm animals or energetic batteries, continually supplying them with the precious energies of loosh in an automatic manner, triggered by all forms of pain, suffering, misery, all recorded in human memories. So to fully understand what led the negative aliens to be what they are and why they became parasitic-vampiric, simply look at what is clearly radiant and reflective in our own society imposed by the negative aliens that goes back to the same concept of the 7 cardinal sins. Excuse me. And to start it off, for the ancestors of the current reptilian-based negative aliens, billions and billions of years ago, was the very fact that being anchored in relatively dense low domains of consciousness, the first or at most the second high heavens or physical superuniverse, they started to delusionally feel remotely connected to the God source, whose perceived domicile led within the center of the cosmos. Yet God is omnipresent and lives within each and every one of its offspring as solar sentient organic beings. Note that the author, Mohsen, has explicated before that there are a total of 356 discrete space-time dimensions of consciousness within the cosmos, which I find really fascinating because a lot of people think, 12 dimensions is where it's at, right? But it goes it's so much bigger than that, which is, mind-blowing. And the dimensions 356-81 are realms of pure consciousness epitomized by the advent of free-flowing spinning of the quanta of energy with an essence that is commonly referred to as dark energy. Or I think some people also call that the God particle, right?
Well,
dark energy.
Let me elaborate on that. Dark energy and dark matter are termed in science, okay, in physics or astronomy and all this stuff, astrophysics, all that. And it's a wrong term. The word dark bothers me because it has nothing to do with evil or dark or negative.
No.
The reason they say it dark because the frequencies are so high that you can't see such light. And it's correct. I mean, light comes in a huge spectrum, and we only see the visible light, which is here. You know what I'm saying? So anything that's not here is dark to us. And these essence of basically dark matter is the essence of consciousness of God that comes from the center of cosmos, which is infinite frequency. Now, as it goes from God and comes to us, it goes under a constitutive process, which means it congeals and it reduces frequency, reduces light, you know what I'm saying? Until it reaches us. because we don't have all the light, you know that. We are at the pref rate. So anyway, the word dark is really should be substituted with stealth. I would call it stealth energy, which energy, again, energy is stealth anyway, and definitely stealth matter. So you distinguish between that and the matter that we see. That is a sort of a tangible thing for us. You know what I'm saying? The point is that dark matter is a tangible form of matter. And I'm sorry, we're going to stop recording here. No, it's fine. Huh? I'm sorry, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure we don't have a problem here. Anyway, it is the essence that basically form of congealment of energy. And this is that will give rise to gravity and all that kind of stuff. But to call it dark is not right, you know?
Yeah.
Got three
I think you actually go on to say something about that.
Yeah.
A little bit down the track, but
dark energy matter somewhere else, which is purely from scientific. Yeah, it always gets to spirituality if I deal with it. But anyway, so that's, you know, if you even say dark energy to be consistent with the mainstream science, think of stealth like you can't see it, it's invisible. But another good word for it would be invisible. It's an invisible matter, invisible energy. Okay?
which is probably why it's so hard for people to comprehend, right?
Yeah, because they don't see it. It's very, very high frequency. Now I'm going to tell you this, your consciousness that comes into you has the essence of dark energy. Nothing with negative aliens. Again, dark, and it means high frequency, light quotient, high light quotient energy. Okay? But you don't see it. But that thing goes in your light body, creates your light body, which is a different issue, you know, series of stuff. And it gives you morphogenetic systems and creates your DNA, creates your cell, you know, all this stuff, tissues, bone, all that, your physicality. So dark matter, think about it as the essence of consciousness of God that comes to us. And as it comes down the steps, the frequency gets less. You know what I'm saying? And but still we can't see it because we're here.
Yeah.
And if it's here, we don't see it. So that's invisible. Think about it as invisible energy, invisible matter, and forget about mainstream science.
Definitely. All right, I'll kick off again. Where are we? On the other hand, the outer 81 plus 3 equals 84 dimensions.
You do understand?
Epitomize.
You understand?
Yeah, I'm.
Okay,
I just got.
I have a question right there. There are 80. If you write the tensor equations from quantum mechanics, you're going to find that there are 81 constants. Each constant defines a dimension, which you can define it as the frequency, light quotient, the curvature of space-time, etc., the radius of curvature, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So 81 dimensions are physical. That means you can actually have matter, antimatter. Now,
wow, I actually only thought there was 9 that were physical.
It's 9 squared. And that's right. Tensor. It's a tensor of order 4. Tensor of order 2 is 3 squared, 9. You know, there's a 3-dimensional system in holographic system. There's 3 rays that come in and create a space, okay? So 3 squared gives you 9. It gives you physicality within Nabatan universe, within our universe. But our universe is intricately connected to the multi-universe. And if you count that, it'll be 9 squared, or 3 to the power 4 constants. And that's 81 dimensions. So the 81 discrete frequencies You know, they're huge. I mean, those frequencies are huge. You know what I'm saying? Because they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And once it gets to God, which is at the center of cosmos, it becomes infinite. But there are 4 dimensions that get into.
So when you're saying, sorry to interrupt, when you're saying infinite,
you're getting me into a different, all the stuff.
I know it's turning into a different discussion, isn't it?
Please, can I ask you to finish the paper?
No worries.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've already got so many questions.
The concept of all this stuff.
I think I need to do another paper with you on one of these topics.
That's fine. There are plenty of them to use in the edifice of cosmos, overview of cosmos, dimensions of cosmos, dimensions of consciousness. Oh boy, I've established the field of interdimensional physics.
All right.
In fact, nobody still call it that. I'm the only one who calls it that.
I will find a paper and I will look into it. Okay, so kicking off again. On the other hand, the outer 81 plus 3 equals 84 dimensions epitomize the realms of physicality, divided into 7 super universes. Each comprise.
Renée, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. The 3 extra is because when you have a system, there is one harmonic universe outside of it, at the gate of it, which oversees the affairs of here. It's like we have 12D system, but 13, 14, 15 is where the guardian founders are.
Right.
Where the rishis are, which oversee the affair of the first 12 dimensions.
Okay.
So when you have 81 dimensions, meaning all the physicalities for 7 higher universes, 7 higher super universes, 7 times 12 is 84. 84 is 81 plus 3. 81 comes from the physical, the whole quantum aspect of, through tensor analysis. 3 tells you the ones that are right outside, which is actually energetic. And then beyond that, going all the way to 356 is only energetic, nothing materialized in terms of matter or antimatter. It's all stealth energy. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so into 7 super universes, each comprised of a 12-dimensional system of continually diminishing frequency light quotient, accompanied with the advent of dense constitution referred to as dark matter, with a quanta of energy giving rise to more congealed, which you did explain, less frequency and light quotient. Phenomenon of particles of anti-particles of antimatter, as one approaches from the innermost and outermost of the cosmos. And as the author has introduced under the auspices of the cosmological law of consciousness constitution interaction, as the density of matter antimatter increases, it progressively leads to a further retardation of consciousness characterized by the free flow spinning, more specifically torsional, I believe the word is vibration, of the quanta of energy now being anchored within progressively denser, more congealed space-time domains, including our physical bodies. Accordingly, the ancestors of the current reptilian-based negative aliens became plagued by delusional separation from the God, and in turn separated, as opposed to unity consciousness, that soon culminated in the inception of ego, leading to false pride, with the ramifications that led to such other related things of selfishness, narcissism, and even elitism. So these individuals who were blessed with a modicum of knowledge of mechanics of cosmos consciousness gifted to them by the God source began to delusionally feel that they were superior to others who remained humble, spiritual, and loving, closely abiding by the law of one, whose main provisions are unity consciousness, interconnectedness, compassion, empathy, unconditional love, service to others, etc. This further led to the delusional perception that perhaps others are neither worthy as them, or maybe the negative aliens were entitled to receive much more than the others. Accordingly, burning with the fire of competition, they became enraged with envy as perhaps they must appear distinct or better than others. Thus, looking down on others as inferiors, they progressively digressed into believing in such things as prejudice, even eugenics, which is terrifying, and such feeling entitled to oppress, suppress others, and take their belongings by force, with the delusional sense of self-supremacy, as if they are genetically better than others and more worthy to live and prosper. Thus, they begin to feel so separated from others, exasperated by the selfish delusional notion of full individuation as opposed to unity consciousness, soon substituting apathy for compassion or empathy, even further digressed into hating as opposed to loving others, trading strength for love, leading eventually to the dogma of service to self only, in lieu of the doctrine of service to all. This all led to venerating brawn and physical strength above anything else, digressing further and further into conflict and bullying others, soon necessitating developing a warring machinery in which they could conquer others and ravage and plunder their belongings, even putting them into enslavement. This led to the inception of futile hatred and anger, wrath and violence, the question of physical strength, and the strive for tyrannous conquest of others led to delusional belief of male supremacy, which we've all seen is very evident in today's society and in the past, as they began to even look down on their own females as weak and good for nothing, but perhaps to have sex with or bear children. This was the onset of the dogma of patriarchal domination and misogyny. Rage and violence soon led to many wars in search of conquering others and pillaging their victims' belongings. This soon gave way into greed and avaricious impulses and desires for further and further acquisition and accumulation of things. The onset of patriarchal domination, misogyny, also led to sexual lust, suppressing their females to have more and more sex as they desired, considering themselves as the king of their castle, to always be readily and promptly served at their whims. At the same time, a different form of lust was developing, for seemingly endless impulses for avaricious acquisition and accumulation of things and materialism. This is why they coveted the lower dimensional planes more and more, as it provides a better chance for manifestation of physical things, again defying God, whose only directive to its offspring is to strive for consciousness expansion acquired through attaining spiritual enlightenment, moving towards ascension and forward evolution, transmigrating forward in time toward acquiring a high frequency light quotient, gaining more propinquity, apologies, still half asleep, towards God, at the same time nullifying the delusional futile sense of utter individuation as opposed to subscribing to the doctrine of unity consciousness. And with the reality of conquest of others by violence and application of brute force, by utter ruthlessness, they managed to accumulate more and more the resources of others by plundering their belongings. This led to the introduction of gluttony, with the farther implication of excess and futile, avaricious lust for acquiring more and more, leading to a lifestyle that everyone was mesmerized by glitter and the advent of new things. Also very apparent in today's society, I must say. Furthermore, through enslaving others and reaping the results of their labor and excessive plundering and pillage, many times considered as the spoils of the wars, they soon fell into sloth, mostly their so-called elites, only perhaps being concerned with by devising more AI machinery to siphon energies of others in a more automated manner, while they indulged in the luxury of living on the resources of others. So now we get into why they became parasitic-vampiric. The derailed avaricious impulses for materialism, exasperated by the further delusional notion of self-supremacy and self-entitledness, entitlement necessitated developing a more ferocious military machine in favor of continuous conquest of others, soon giving rise to a hierarchical pyramidal societal structure, among them based upon physical strength and ruthlessness, in which a lower rank individual was dictated, paying homage to its superiors, utterly obeying what was uttered to them without any questions or sense of right of free will, which is all very relevant right now. Very, very relevant. This particularly applied to the others, to their conquered victims who were regarded as weak and worthless anyway. Thus, this soon led to taking others in bondage and put into forced enslavement labor camps. And as deep down they knew that they were dealing with solar organic consciousness beings such as themselves, they soon devised mind controlling and mind sliding and blank slating, which is mind wiping programming techniques, to condemn them into unconsciousness enslavement, so the victims would not know or realize the atrocities that they were being subjected to. And I think on that point, after my awakening, that's when I started being able to experience these things. And that's why, you know, these papers are very relevant to me, understanding. So this marked the incipient point of going way beyond the limits of tolerance, of separating from God and its loving ways, in which the negative aliens became to practically interfering in the course of consciousness development of their victims, utterly violating their right of free will and sovereignty. Thus, as a result of the severe violation of the mandate of non-interference in the consciousness affairs of others, particularly when it entailed blocking the course of consciousness expansion, forward evolution, and ascension of others, they totally fell from the grace of God. And all this time, due to their incredible arrogance and developed narcissism, the negative aliens failed to appreciate that the God source has instituted certain fail-safe mechanisms in order to safeguard against its divinely ordered cosmic creation, be falling under chaos, anarchy, and confusion, such as undertaken by them. According to the negative aliens, that up to this point had been privileged in still existing in solar organic consciousness beings, being privy to receiving the free energies of the God source disseminated to them via an open loop of consciousness energies, with every expanded energies being refurbished by God as the sentient being returns to the God source or its neural network all over the cosmos, suddenly become fully disconnected from the free energies of the God source, which is essentially why they're parasitic now. That's the crux of it, right? Because they're separated from God. To better understand this, consider a solar sentient organic being as a consciousness mass described by its dark matter attached by the torsional or helical elastic spring, which I am really, really interested to see some kind of diagram for that. I have like a vision in my mind, but as I mentioned earlier in our private discussion, I'm very much a visual person. So I'm trying to visualize what that looks like. Where were we? Hang on.
Well, I do have slides. I do have slides, and then there are papers on basically sentient vibration or vibration of sentient beings.
Right.
And it's fully treated from different points of view. I have several papers on that, 4 or 5 papers.
I need to, maybe that's one of the ones that because I did go in and have a look at a lot of the references, and maybe I haven't looked at that one. I need to go and have a look.
And we'll guide you what to do next, because
perfect.
your enlightenment. You have to be enlightened the way you are ready to be. People keep asking me, what paper should I read? What paper should I read? Never respond to that. I always say, go in your heart, look at the stuff, read the abstract, see where the questions are, where you want to get into that. So We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
I think it's already quite apparent where I need to go after we're talking earlier.
You want to know everything. That's great.
I do. And you know what? There's not enough time in the day to read everything. All right, where are we? Let me just find where I was.
But let me tell you something. You spend about an hour here reading. You have the author, okay?
I know.
You. It is like shooting so fast to the target. This is why I introduced the program.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Very grateful to be a part of it. So thank you, Mohsen. Very much appreciated.
It's the service that helps. I think it does. I mean, in my vision, it tells me that, you know, you've got to, I mean, I've always noticed you have to take the hand of the members. And I've tried to do all kinds of stuff, longer abstract, summary. You see how I write in bullet form. This kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But
no, I think I appreciate the bullet format because you can kind of break it down a little bit easier. And it is quite, I don't want to say dense information, but it's a lot to take in if you're not used to these concepts. So it's nice to have the points to kind of to go through. All right, let's see where I was. So going back to that, the helical elastic spring, analogous to the soul that stores the memories or energies of consciousness, to the God source that serves as its fixed point of support and stability, sequentially spiraling away. So I'm assuming when you're saying spiraling away, that's when we're going out and experiencing life as a soul, right? Okay. As to the self, here, as you said here, as to self-discover or get consciousness experience, and then spiraling back, returning to the God source as a refurbish, revitalize its expended energy during its exploratory consciousness sojourns. So that's essentially the fail-safe, isn't it? Is that we have to come back to God at some point?
I'll tell you very quickly, I'll tell you this, and you get the crux of other theories, okay? Think about yourself. You're connected through an umbilical cord to God, okay? God is support and rigidity, and your consciousness mass is connected through this umbilical cord. Now think that umbilical cord as it's stretching, you know, you can compress it and you can expand it, okay? So it's like a spring, you know, like a spring, except it's a helical spring, you know? So you twist back and forth because time is a helical phenomenon. Time is a spherical phenomenon. You know what I'm saying? So you do this and you do that. And next time you have a wine bottle, remember that when you unscrew it, the cork pops out. When you do this, it goes in. So basically, when you go counterclockwise, as you have said it already, you go away from God.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you come back to God. Now, remember this helical spring or this umbilical cord has a limit. You're going to stretch it. Okay? But the point is that you better come back, because if you don't come back, you don't revitalize energy, because you go and expend God's energy to learn, self-discover, to have sojourns of life in space-times. You come back and get rejuvenated and go back. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you do this and that and that and that, first of all, you run out of energy. Secondly, it's going to break. You know what I'm saying? And like
so essentially,
like an elastic thing. Think about putting a weight at the bottom of an elastic cord or a spring and let it vibrate, go up and down. That's exactly what your life is, except you do this. You do helically, okay? And then you can stretch it. At some point, elastic limit, it breaks.
And essentially, is that what the negative aliens have done, is that they strayed so far from God that it is cut off for them?
That's the fail-safe. God's got fail-safe all over. You yourself, myself sitting here, we're fail-safe for the Nebadan universe, a different story. I think somebody's already read it or is going to be reading it. Otherwise, you know, I've spoken of that. The underlying reason why we were created. We're fail-safe.
Actually, I have seen that paper, but I haven't read it, but I will read it. All right, where are we? Let's find where I was. So, endocelestic spring can be stretched. So I think we've kind of touched on this already, but endocelestic spring can be stretched only so far that is in commensurate with the elastic limit of the spring. So in this respect, the elastic limit or the stretch force is proportional to the deflection away from the God source or its neural network. And in turn, the constant of proportionality is what the author has referred to as consciousness expansibility. The author has shown that the natural frequency of the sentient being, reflective of its extent of consciousness, is proportional to the square root of the ratio of consciousness expansibility to its mass. Thus, the natural frequency of consciousness of a sentient being reflective of its extent of consciousness is proportional to its degree of consciousness expansibility. All right, we're almost there, but I think we're over halfway. Accordingly, the natural frequency of the sentient being is reduced by what you may refer to as negative karma. So does the consciousness expansibility. So in this respect, positive karma is defined as the elastic energy stored in the spring, the soul, and occurs when propinquity is increased by returning back to the God source. In contrast, negative karma may be defined as the elastic energy expended by the act of stretching away from the God source. Thus, when one deflects away from the God source, its natural frequency, as well as its conscious expansibility, progressively diminishes. So when that happens, that makes us more open to being attacked by these creatures, negative aliens.
Also, yeah, negative aliens do that. They've distorted the whole system because you have to expand, contract the same way. Expand, contract the same way. Now, through mechatronic reversal, they made you to expand and don't come all the way back, and expand, not all the way back. That's why you age and die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Makes
saying?
Sense.
You reduce your consciousness, basically expansibility, which is, you know, or natural frequency. Natural frequency is vibration. Look, you vibrate. Natural frequency means the speed of vibration, right? So you reduces, and then what? Finally, it's below.
Don't know where to go.
It dies.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so
mathematically treat all these things with equations.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like once you start looking into it, you're like, oh, right, it's all pretty much just a maths equation, isn't it?
Very simple, though. Math is very simple. I have not tried to baffle people. You know, I don't write for the Physics Society, and I'm not looking for a, you know, some kind of a prize, you know, Nobel Prize or something. My Nobel Prize is you reading and learning. This is what
definitely
gives me satisfaction. I don't want anything. I don't care. I've had it. I didn't get a Nobel Prize, never won after it, but I had my time at the university. Anyway.
And we're all very grateful for all the work you do, Mohsen. It's very helpful to a lot of people.
When you're in service, Renee, when you get it in your heart, when you awaken your crystalline consciousness, when you know your pedigree, who you are, okay, then it becomes easy. We've had this conversation together before. You become very grateful to God to start with, and grateful for your every breath that you take. Okay, are you with me?
Yeah.
And then you see There's acumen in service, in unconditional love.
And it's, you know what, it's such a journey to get to that point though.
They've distorted you because they've damaged you.
Oh yeah, I know that.
They put all kinds of garbage in your system. But let me tell you something. Say no, like a wind takes it away. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And you'll see.
And I can tell I'm a lot more consciously aware now when I'm getting some kind of programming coming through, that I can now make the decision to reject it. Whereas before it's instinct. And I think, I don't want to say reptilian brain, but it's like the reptilian brain just accepts that as a fight or flight response. So it's really trying to overcome your natural instinct to just go with that programming and consciously think about where it's coming from.
Finish your paper, we'll have a discussion.
Oh yeah, sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. We don't have too much longer to go. All right, where are we? Okay, so we're talking about karma now. So in the event that one indulges in too much negative karma by excessively deflecting away from the God source, a situation may reach that its natural frequency as well as its consciousness expansibility begins to diminish excessively, also approach zero. Indeed, when the deflection exceeds beyond a certain threshold limit without recovering consciousness energy through positive karma effectuated by returning back to God source, the spring soul can fracture, fully disconnecting itself from the God source and its eternal point of support and stability. And when this occurs, an individual encounters a condition in which it becomes severed from the open loop of free energy of God and becomes confined within a closed energetic circuit in which can only self-consume its own energies, right? This is referred to as the condition of closed loop or bi-wave energetic, which I know we've spoken about before, Vesica-Piscis, as opposed to the tri-wave open loop of God-free energetics. And when the individual has become subjected to what is referred to as Vesica-Piscis or closed loop energetic, it begins to become entropic with any expenditure of energy, leading to overall depletion of its energetic. So this is why they become parasitic. Thus, entropy is intimately related to the concept of negative karma. On the other hand, the author has also introduced the concept of soul syntropy, that exudes positive karma, leading to continual consciousness expansion, whose requirement is to stay connected to the God source and its infinite fountain of consciousness energy. And when an individual becomes fallen or disconnected from the God source and becomes energetically entropic as a result of indulging in an excessive abuse of negative karma, has two choices, being one, it must either self-consume as the proverbial snake eating its tail to survive, or two, resort to parasitic, energetically feeding on other solar sentient organic beings. And as it is with the case of embodied consciousness that we are currently experiencing, these vital energies of life, consciousness, energetic, as well as its potential low frequential loosh are carried within the blood, which you did explain a bit earlier as well. Thus, the parasitic being can feed as a vampire that consumes blood. According the negative aliens chose the latter choice of parasitism, vampirism to survive. Note, two forms of energies are particularly potent in parasitically, vampirically feeding upon that both have to do with the advent of organic consciousness existence. So being one, the potent sexual energies that are that during its climax can lead to conception and procreation by bringing a new organic life form into being, and two, bloodlust by spilling the blood of others through means possible that include primarily wars and killings, as targeting and distorting the sexual organs of females responsible for ovulation that has digressed into women menstruating as it is targeted by the negative aliens AI machinery on the moon, which is one of my other favorite topics, as you know. So the negative aliens adopted a different form of existence as energetic parasites, vampires, beginning to depend on harvesting the precious low consciousness energies, or loosh, of the solar organic sentient beings that is relinquished when they indulge a variety of self-destructive behaviors, such as the ones defined under the general title of the 7 deadly sins, as described. So I think just on that point, it's really important for people to understand that if they are engaging in these low frequency behaviors, they're essentially opening themselves up to be attacked. So it's important
invitation. It's a weakness. They actually try to trigger it in you. You have to repel it. Like, get out of my phone, space.
And that's the mind control programming they do, right?
You raise your, and they can't touch you. But once they see your ability to come back. It's like walking, by the lake or something, and if you are not wearing much clothes and stuff, that mosquitoes come and bite you forever. You've got to
protect yourself energetically. Yeah. They're very sorry, what's that?
You got to take care of yourself, but I tell you something, never leave that. Listen, connect to God, stay connected to God, and the first thing that you're going to see, the highest frequency that come to you is love. We had this conversation together. How important.
I know we've spoken about this.
Never think negatively. Never think badly. Forget about the old stuff. Don't conjure them back. Because you start thinking about them, all these bad things you might have had, you call them back.
Yeah, I know. And that's the trap.
You actually activate them. You don't even understand it. And there is something else that I've written that I want to publish it soon, is the concept of shadow self.
Oh, yes. Yep.
It's you. Well, it's in you. Let's put it this permanently in you. It came with you.
I'm interested to learn a little bit more. I have looked into a lot of Carl Jung's work, so I am familiar with the concept, but very interested to.
He talks about.
What's that?
Who's this? Carl
Jung?
He talks.
No, he is. Oh God, when did he? He's dead now. I think he was Freud's. He worked with Freud, Sigmund Freud, I believe, from memory. Psychoanalyst. I think he developed a lot of the personality testing stuff. But anyway, that's a different topic. He did a lot of work on archetypes and stuff like that. When I was in the early stages of my awakening, I was trying to understand all of that stuff. So I went down many different avenues of research on consciousness and who I am, and what makes up a soul and a being and a person, etc. And it led me to a lot of his work. Anyway, I will keep reading. Where are we? And I've lost my place, of course. Here we go. Totally just lost my place. Okay, I might just kick off here. So the negative aliens adopted a different form of existence as energetic parasites, vampires, beginning to depend on harvesting the precious low consciousness energies, or loosh, of the solar organic sentient beings that relinquished when they indulged in the destructive behaviors which we've already spoken about. Later, these ancestors of the negative aliens were chased out and evicted from the higher and neighboring universes, and ended up invading our then relatively newly created Nebadon universe. Such an invasion was procured via unlawful entry, by their acquired knowledge of making tears in space-time, and by rejoining them or to form wormholes, and finally joining these wormholes to form a black hole. Here they created a new race of negative aliens referred to as the reptilians in the swamps of the Orion constellation, where they began to reside. Thus, they began to devise an even stronger war machinery to conquer other portions of the Nebadon universe, first through the Lyra and Orion wars in the fourth harmonic universe, and then leading to electric wars fought in the third harmonic universe. There they captured the Metatronic collective, a gestalt of high dimensional consciousness beings, and put them into bondage, utilizing them as energetic power generators, as well as enslaving them and dictating them to devise what became as the dawn of artificial intelligence, AI machinery. Guess what? We're almost done. The objective of AI machinery was to enslave solar organic consciousness beings through what became known as the Metatronic reversal technique, applying the mathematical sequence of the Fibonacci sequence, energetic siphoning. Wow, yeah, that's a very interesting point. Also condemning their victims to blank slating as imposition of a myriad frequency fences and genetic implants and bioenergetic mutations, literally confining them with frequency fences or quarantine fields, meanwhile streaming upon them mind control programming AI signals via use of holographic inserts. As a basis for their mind control programming, they employ the concept of 7 deadly sins to devise holographic subroutines to be installed on the planetary grids of their victims. So the reason you see 3D humans behaving in such self-destructive manners is that they have been subjected to a blend reality that is distorted, that is a distorted version of God's organic natural reality system through devising phantom or artificial timelines and blending them together. And such atrocities that often lead to the introduction of incredible pains, sufferings, and miseries in humans is due to the fact that humanity is streamed upon in reality software system that is distorted by the impositions of mind-controlling holographic software inserts, introducing phantom realities that are based upon previous timelines imbued with galactic wartime Holocaust consciousness memories that are filled with experiential moments of incredible pains, sufferings, and miseries that have been captured and digitized by the negative aliens. And these phantom timelines are continuously run in a loop while capturing the souls of the deceased and redirecting them to the astral plane for soul recycling, which is also something that is very much of an interest to me, and reincarnation time after time that seemingly would never end. So basically we need to say no to reincarnation to get off the wheel. Yet the presence of the solar rishi and a slew of guardian founders helping the process of Earth humanity ascension, everything is changing from the repairing of planetary stargates portals and the consciousness grid to lifting the frequency to dismantling of the negative aliens' AI infrastructures, imposing mind control programming frequency fences and quarantine fields. Once again, providing a means for attaining consciousness expansion and transmigrating to higher dimensional fields of consciousness, effectuating ascension. And we are at the end of the paper.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did a good job, and we had a different style of reading, which is, we're kind of experimenting with different things. I just had Liz, who hosted another reading, and they put the paper on the screen, and while she was reading it, Liz was scrolling down so people can see the stuff one way.
Yeah.
I like to see the person on the screen because they think, and that it comes out. their thoughts come out. And when I see they communicate, they connect, that gives me satisfaction because I feel like, whoa, they're getting to it. And you did that. And that's wonderful. But also, what I want to tell you this, the style that we had different is there was tremendous amount of interruptions in the middle. No, which is not necessarily bad, because it's kind of like what one of the journalists was coming back actually to read some of my papers and asked me to actually go on his I think it's a TV show, did it this way. He read the paper on Moon, you know.
Oh yes.
And he did it this way. He was reading it, he was talking to the public. He was reading it, he was talking to the public, putting some of himself into it. Wow, look what he says. What is he saying? All this stuff. I think actually it's a good style. I like but it depends on the person and personality. Your personality goes with that. And also, it seems like you enjoy it the best. You're not the type of person who said, read. It's just like, I want to experience. I want to live. I want to do something. And that's good.
Yeah, no, I did very much enjoy going through that and talking on the points. I think I get excited, and I just want to, let's talk about this right now.
That's the way, that's the way you communicate the point to the public. They see you, you know what I'm saying? And, there's a consciousness person reading this. This is why I don't want, listen, I could have all this stuff read through a machine.
Yeah.
On the internet that they're all,
there are people that do that.
They're stupid.
You could be talking to a negative alien for you know.
Exactly. It's like a negative alien talking, But here you got a consciousness person, it's you. A person with feelings, it's a person with a consciousness field is right there. And, you get confused, you ask question, you think it germinates a thought, a question, and all this stuff. So it's wonderful. It's working between this. But a person has to have the personality, and you do have it. So I don't mind doing that with you again. But I tell you something else. It requires my undivided attention.
Which I
can't
would appreciate. It's very time consuming. And
if you want to do this, we could refer you to Liz or somebody else to host it, and I'm off the hook. I can write a paper.
You're like, yeah, I can write more papers.
Whichever, but, anyway, even if you do that, then, you would have a session with me, either 1-to-1 or probably 2-to-1, because the person who hosts it's probably going to be there too. Or it's going to be a group discussion, like the 3-4 papers, all the points, and they ask questions. We're going to do that in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Definitely interested.
And in the future, maybe, we can do other things.
Yeah.
I have plans for you, lady.
Beg your pardon?
I have plans for you.
Oh, you've got plans. I'm just going to go with the flow and see where it takes me.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
I hope it added to your enlightenment. Don't shy away from reading the paper quickly one more time. Well, actually, you have your recording. Tomorrow, chances are the day after it's going to be up. So
I've actually read this paper a few times now. So
your recording next time. You don't have to read it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
The paper is in front of you and you feel, okay. And also next time when you read it, you're going to be infinitely better because you're going to be more confident, you feel more relaxed because, this is the first time, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I hope after this you find out I'm not a monster and I don't bite.
I never thought that you did. I was always just trying to get to know you. So
And I'm not one of these real gurus who just, you know what, I'm someone never smile. And anyway, I'm a human.
On that point,
I'm a person.
I think a paper that, and I don't know if anyone's read this paper yet, but New Age spirituality trap. I know that you've got a paper on that somewhere, where you talk about New Age spirituality. And I know it's only very brief, but it's something that I'd really like to talk about at some point, because I feel like a lot of people do get pulled into that trap quite easily. And I did at the start too. I feel it's a very important message to put out to everyone, is that they need to be super careful what they're tapping into, especially when they awaken and they're looking to find answers. They can sometimes inadvertently, innocently end up following people that don't have their best interests at heart, which is, again, another, comes back to the negative aliens. It's all connected, I understand this. So hopefully one day we can have a chat about that.
Well, I'm actually just about to finish the second part of that paper that I started 3 years ago. I wrote 3 years ago and published it. Part 1 is published, the one you're seeing. There's a part 2, there's also definitely a part 3. Because right now I have about 100 pages written, and I'm not going to put it in one paper. It's going to be 2, 3 papers. So I'm trying to split them, you know, but they have to be a storyline. They have to match. You can't jump.
Yeah.
You gotta develop and done, and go to the next one, done. Like you were asking for a characteristic of negative aliens. It is very, very, it interfaces with this paper that you read. But then it really gets into their characteristics. You know what I'm saying? And it makes a reference again to the 7 deadly sins, but way when they got into it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, you have to write them in their own proper context. Okay.
Yeah.
And we will talk. We will talk. You text me, and what I do want you to do is just quickly respond back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So you get one thing out of the way, because otherwise it jump in that dead, you know, and then I have to go watch, you know, get it done. You know, you get a text, wait for it, get answers, you know, and get it done. You know, conversation. See, the problem with these texts is that you text, sits in there, the person sees it 2 days later, and then you forget to talk to them about it.
No, I get it.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. And then we'll see that. And the papers that you have mentioned, fortunately or unfortunately, other people have talked about it, reserved them, or this and this. Like this other paper, did you want to do the characteristic of negative aliens?
Yeah, I'm going to have a read through it and see if it's something that I want to continue on. But I almost feel like I'm getting drawn to understanding the mechanics of the universe, and you know, us. You know, as we're kind of talking a little bit earlier on, I went off on a few tangents there. What's that?
Take your pick there. There's so many papers.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I suppose I could still do the characteristics of the negative aliens as well. You know, I can just do multiple.
Actually, several people have asked for that. I assigned it to one person, and then when I talked to him, I just realized I don't want him to read it at all. So we just terminated the conversation very fast. You know what I'm saying? So he was not suitable from the very beginning. I actually put up with him. But anyway,
that's a shame.
Well, you know, you give service.
Yeah.
And you can't be selective. And you have to be very patient, and you have to have perseverance. I cannot define what I teach public, or what I, you know what I'm saying, emphasize to public. So if I lose perseverance, why am I have no right to talk about perseverance. You know what I'm saying? And things like this. But anyway, the point is that I won't do it. It's just not me. You know, I mean, you know, there's sometimes it comes to a point and it just doesn't go anywhere, and you better concentrate on something more positive, constructive. You know. But anyway, Okay, let me ask you this, Renee. We discussed a bunch of stuff, but I want you to think carefully about all the questions you had and see if we've responded to that.
Yeah.
And let's see that, and then we we
Okay, so I think a lot of it was kind of answered throughout the reading, but there were a couple of things that I couldn't, that as we discussed before when we're off camera, I know there's a few papers that you've either finished or in the process of finishing, and haven't been reference linked into the document yet. And one of the things that I wanted to understand a little bit more about was the holographic inserts and what they actually are and how they actually work. Yeah, that's pretty much one of the questions I had outstanding.
Okay, very good. Let's address that. I have spoken a lot about holographic inserts. There are several slides that that I did, even at the risk of repeating myself at first, because so many people ask the same question. So now I go and dig the slide and just put the slide, because I'm not going to do another slide. It's the same.
Yeah.
I have to tell you. Anyway, so let's talk about this, but I have a very extensive paper that gets into holographic insert, because
right.
Yeah, because it's a very, very important thing. And some of the stuff you already saw in there, like AI, like taking pictures of things and digitizing things and cloning, or basically, well, let's not say cloning, copying, copying, digitizing, But here's what holographic is. The best way to do it is to follow. Holography has two components: light, sound. In fact, in esoteric science, they could be considered as Father and Mother God, the voice of God and the sight of God, or the light, actually, we should say the best. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the voice is considered as the female, and the light, which is the color and all the goodies, it's considered as the male. So now holographic insert. So basically, holography means when you have three consecutive dimensions, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They come together. Each one of these dimensions is formed by the projection of a particular light of a particular frequency and color. Each dimension is distinguished by frequency and color. Okay? The light that creates it, because it's all light. Space, time, everything is created by light. Light is the essence of God. Light is how God expresses itself. Holography, you know what I'm saying, making self-similar fractalized aspect of itself, creates space times, all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Are you with me so far? I haven't lost you?
Yeah, I've got something ticking away in my brain at the same time. And I'm just thinking, so from what I understand, the chakra system, each chakra is linked to a different dimension, if I'm correct, and they have a color that's associated to them as well. Is that
yes
all related?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The chakras, there are 12 chakras, okay? Actually, there are 15, because the other 3 interfaces with the raw family, or the rishis, the guardian founders, okay? Those are outside your body and underneath, okay? And by the way, I've written all this stuff 2-3 years ago, and never went there and totally publish everything. Every chakras, the morphogenetic chakra, I went through all this stuff, and I wrote and classified and all this stuff. There's so much. There are about 200 papers have written, but they just have to make finishing touches. They have to be written in a way that they are just, as I said, drop the mic, type of thing. You know what the expression means, right? My son laughs at me when I say that to him. Smiles and says, "Dad, there you go again." You know. But anyway, let's go back to this. And I'm going a little bit beyond what you're asking me because you're saying holographic insert. So I want you to know what holography means, first of all. So in holography, 3 light comes, okay, and they interfere with each other. First, 1 light is projected on a screen, which a screen is a space-time is just like a screen that you have on TV. In fact, if you consider one of those curved TVs that came out, that's very much like it's space-time. It has a curvature that gives you time and frequency, basically, mathematically. You know what I'm saying? And it has a surface area that gives you space and time. Space-time is dimension, okay? When you change the curvature of that thing, you change the dimension. Because you know what I'm saying? It gets smaller.
Right.
It's larger.
Yep.
And I don't
know
if you're familiar with my nested spherical model that holograms fit each other like a matryoshka Russian dolls that fit.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think I haven't seen yours, but I think I understand the concept of what you're talking about.
I have a feeling you're gonna because this is part of all the fundamental things you want to know about everything. Cosmos, you know what I'm saying? How, etc. So I've gone through the same thing, devising everything, putting it together, and so I know how you guys think. So anyway, going back to that. So one project. Listen, you can do. You know Elvis on the stage, Michael Jackson on the stage, is created the same way, but it's all synthetic. It's not real time. The thing that we have as organic being is real time. Right now that you're talking in there and looking at me, that's real time. After we've played back the recording, it's not real time anymore. It's only a photograph of you, picture of you, or it's a holographic aspect of you. You know what I'm saying? Are you with me? So this is organic consciousness that becomes AI. And of course, AI can distort it because they take the whole record, digitized record, and then they start distorting it. You can put things into it. You know those programs you have on your phone that you can make a male, a female. My daughter has a problem with that.
Oh, the filters.
The filters, exactly. You can put those filters holographically on digitized record and mess up the whole system. Okay? That's what the aliens have done to us. Those are holographic inserts. Okay?
Wow. Okay. I think I've actually, now that you're talking about that, I have, I think I've actually experienced one of these holographic inserts in terms of viewing it.
Oh, sure. They can stream it on you, and they can stream a phantom reality to you. Listen, happening, you were asking actually about this. Let me tell you this, it connects to that. You know, this new age type thing and all the stuff you were saying, they take control of this, the Galactic Federation. They got these mass group of people coming, they give them drugs, they give them mushroom, they give them all this stuff, they get high. And then they, once they're gone, the consciousness is gone, they take over and they put holographic inserts in there. All of them see the same phantom reality.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when they wake up and they say, oh, I had an experience in Lyra. I was king of Siam, whatever, king this and whatever. And they believe it. And they believe it. So this way, they persuade them into false spirituality.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
I've been down that path before. I know it. I know it well.
So that's probably what happened to you too. It's a holographic insert. They actually can make a new reality out of something else because the digitized record, when you change, then change reality. It becomes something different. Let's say you're a woman, we can make you a man.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that topic.
Well, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's easily done, right? You've even seen the software on your phone, right? So I mean, now we're at the position nowadays that we can understand these things very well. 200 years ago, you could never explain this to anybody.
No.
You with me?
Yeah,
So,
no, that you explain that very well. I understand it now. And it falls under, in my mind, it falls under the mind control banner, right? So it's kind of controlling the mind to believe a certain thing through having these inserts, or
they stream upon you these holographic digital records,
which may not even belong to you, right? They don't belong to you, these things. Like it'll come through as, correct me if I'm wrong, but does it come through as a memory, or?
You think it's memory, especially if
yeah,
a group of you go through it, they say, oh, we experienced it. That's our memory. By the way, when you're born, they even put those wrong memories in you. They digitize based upon galactic wars, all kinds of devastations. They put that in you so you will suffer in this lifetime too. Because you remember all those memories, you know.
the trauma.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you suffer, and then they eat your looch. They eat your looch. That's why it's called a farm. They bring you back, just like raising chickens, cows, and stuff like this. And they put it through, and then they slaughter it. And then a new one comes because they've already procreated the cows.
I have no doubt.
Well, that's what they've been doing this to us. One other thing you want to understand is that holographic aspect, because I didn't finish telling you. The three waves interfere with each other. First, it does a 2D stuff, digital record on a photograph. I mean, you can do that. I mean, you know, you can do it synthetically. And then you take this record and put it on another screen. And then you put the third light, all these together, it becomes three-dimensional. And you've seen those things came out in the old time. I remember I used to buy it for my daughter, that they put three pictures with a little out of phase, and it looks like it's three-dimensional. It's like a train walk running, or in a circus. Did you ever have those or no?
I don't think so, no.
Pictures, those were very crude. I mean, they were just pictures. They've existed since the turn of last century. Okay, they put two pictures. Do you know about stereo pictures? They put two pictures that are slightly off angle, and when you project them together, it becomes three-dimensional. It gives it the depth. So a two-dimensional screen becomes a three-dimensional.
Right. Okay. No, I haven't. I don't think I've seen it.
Okay. Well, the holographic stuff is the same thing. The first one creates one. The first light projection creates one screen, one picture. Then you take that and project it on a second screen. Then you put a third light to see these two together. And it becomes voila. Elvis is singing for you. Lose
right.
the night or whatever, you know.
Okay, I understand now. I get it.
Whatever.
I get it.
Or you know what I'm saying, GI Blues or whatever. Anyway, that's just as I know about it. But
so that's holographic inserts.
But you got it.
Right.
Another way, if you want to look at it, think about this way. You take picture, like you go sailing, you take pictures probably a lot from ocean and stuff. Put a bad lens in front of it, or a distorting lens. What would the picture be when you develop that picture? It's going to be distorted picture. It's not going to be what you saw on the ocean. Like you can put colors, like you can make a dolphin pink, orange. You know what I'm saying? Or you can get a dolphin having a head of a cat. You can do it. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It's the same principle.
Yeah.
Playing those apps on your phone. So.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Good enough?
Yes. No, that It's very clear.
I mean, you're asking things out of context, but we've been doing this all day, so it is not. It's there's nothing wrong with that because people learn.
There is one thing that I didn't actually have as a question, but it kind of piqued my interest as we got to the end. And you mentioned the Metatronic reversal technique, applying the mathematical sequence of the Fibonacci sequence. And I know when I after I went through that awakening in 2019, I did go down a few rabbit holes in terms of sacred geometry and seeing the patterns everywhere in life and so forth. So I was really quite interested when you said that they were using the Fibonacci sequence for consciousness energetic siphoning. And I was just wondering if they say that the Fibonacci sequence is the spiral of life, right? Is this something that's been hijacked by the negative aliens, or is it something that is a part of organic consciousness?
You're opening a jar of worms. It's a big thing, and I think written about this, didn't publish it because it was a little complicated from mechanics. I waited for the right time. Gotta go back. You know, when you tell me there's everything written. Anyway, but that's not you. Everybody is this. I'm so frustrated because I gotta publish these papers. If I had not written them from 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, I would not care about it. But you know, when you tell me this, it's like, public haven't seen this yet. Anyway, but there is, I mean, people have talked about metatronic reversal, you know, other people, except they don't quite understand from mechanics what it means. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me do my best to help you. Okay. You're supposed to do this. Expand, contract.
And contract. Yeah.
Contract. Okay. Fibonacci is something that exists in the nature for a different purpose.
Yeah.
Like you can see the leaf, you can see the snow cone, you can see all this kind of stuff. It starts from one point and starts spiraling, right?
Mm.
What they have done with the metatronic reversal is just they put that instead of boom, 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 boom. It's simple. Go to God, come back, go to God, come back. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is that you go to, you expand, you don't come back. You come back this close. Then you go and you come here. You go, you come here. When you're spiraling, remember every time you're spiraling, you're not just doing a rectilinear stuff. So when you do this, it's like you end up here, you end up here, you end up here. And that's Fibonacci. And Fibonacci is a number that is equal to the last two numbers. So what it does, they steal energy. The reason it happens because they steal your magnetic energy, your feminine energy. The reason that you see there is misogyny, there's actually there's so much lack of feminine energy on this planet. There's an equality. I mean, male and female are equal. The energies, magnetic energy should be equal. They're not equal. Magnetic is stolen. That's why.
But they want it that way, don't they? They want the imbalance because they don't want harmony.
That's what they feed on. They take the magnetic energy they feed on. That's why Earth is tilted. You know, Earth like this is tilted. So they take the energy, they send it to Orion. And it has to do with the quantum spin. It has to do with the ratio of the quantum spin, electric to magnetic. Now you'll understand these better as you go on, okay? So anyway, what is happening in here is that they go through a spiral. You know what I'm saying? Spiral. So they steal energy, don't come back. And then you start, you know, every time they add the last two numbers, they're stealing and they become a Leviathan. Do you know what the Leviathan is? Did you see the movie? That this creature, everything was attached to it, was getting bigger, 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 bigger under the ocean.
Right, okay.
Or, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. They take your energies and they become Leviathan. And they put it in their black hole, basically. You know what I'm saying? For storage. It's what's called a Malak tank. Okay. And then they use that to plug in so they can exist. Because if you unplug them like Borg, they just fall apart. They're done. They don't have life. They don't have energies like you. Your energy comes from God. You get tired, which I am right now.
Me too. Me too.
And I go sit there, take a cup of coffee, take it easy, comes back. God provides, you know?
Yeah.
They don't have that.
No.
So they
sorry, Mohsen, you go.
they expend the energy, and then it's done, they have to recharge. So they have to replug in from our stolen energy, you know, which they've converted to electricity or electrical field the way they want it and all that stuff. Okay.
That
what
makes
else?
sense. Well, I think we've been going for quite some time now, so I won't ask too many more questions, but I think what I'd just like to wrap up with is, especially people that haven't really, this is could be quite confronting information for some people that are new to this, and it'd be nice to wrap up and help them understand that we do have help behind the scenes. Absolutely. And that this is something that is crumbling, and these negative aliens are losing their war. It's their own self-perpetuated war.
I've started writing those bits and pieces as the information has come in. Or someday give them the final thing, but there are God's, there are here, this Guardian founders are here in variety of forms, and please don't get me into that because I could talk about it for hours. You know what we'll talk about it later because you're bringing all this stuff. But don't, that's a good question, different than some of the other. Well, the Metatronic was also related because it's all about siphonage and stuff. But anyway, these people are here, the light isn't here. They're encrypting your body, re-encrypting your body. So they're getting rid of the black goo, the miasma, all this stuff. And they have been
inserts.
And they've been fixing the stargates and everything, portals, the grid and all this stuff. So it's coming to a situation that the field is going to be clean, but the responsibility lies with you. God will not live your life. Guardian founders will not do that. You got to do it by yourself. You have to, not program. You have to, I don't like the word.
Break out of the programming.
But you got to get out of the programming. You have to discipline yourself and loving energies and stuff. Be productive, constructive, and live in a God's world, basically. It's coming.
And one way people can do that is practicing the law of one, which a lot of people.
Law of one. Without law of one, nothing. Law of one is, they defied law of one. That's why they became parasitic.
Yeah.
And if we do that, we will get parasitic finally too. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing leads to another. Selfishness leads to narcissism. You know what I'm saying? Da-da, 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 da-da. That's how it works. So we've learned a lot. So we know what not to do now. So at least we've learned what evil is to keep away from it.
Most definitely.
It's been very hard and painful, but everything's purposeful in the long run. But it's come to a point that God has said, no way. This viral infection is too much. It's devastating, Yeah,
definitely.
They really, what do they call it? They got too big for their britches.
The castle's going to crumble eventually, but it's something that I really feel, and I think I have spoken to you this about.
They don't have a castle, my dear. They have parasitic. They have pathetic existence. What do you want to? You want to live like this? You want to be a parasite?
No, but I do feel deep in my soul, and I know that I've told you that I've really been feeling for a while that something is coming in a good way. You know, I can feel it. I've been feeling it for a while, and I've had
go off that. That's a good frequency. Don't go off that. And I do not want to hear from you. We've talked a lot on texting, you know, well, segments there. I do not want you to summon these anymore. They're gone. They're finished. They're old paradigm of reality. Don't worry about it. Don't you know, what is it? Don't worry about it. Don't even think about it. They're gone. Discard it. Listen, when something smells, you don't bring it back and smell it again.
I know.
What's so good about this? And rotten fish, you throw it in the ocean, you don't bring it and smell it. Okay, dear, I'm gonna, this is a lot, and you know, our time is a little different anyway, so this is, but anyway.
Time zones are hard. Thank you so much, Mohsen. I really am grateful.
I'm delighted to have met you, and we'll talk. And you know, contact me whenever you want, and we'll see if we can get you on another one. Choose another paper if you want, you know.
Yeah.
And then probably I want you to get more involved if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
I want
Definitely
you to,
keen.
this is your family. This is your soul family. You know what I'm saying? We're actually getting into that.
Yeah.
All the online this, the I actually want to have a university, Institute of Spiritual Science. But I've never got to it because I've been just having that time.
Too busy writing all your papers.
Oh, started writing 400 papers and see how long it takes.
Someone's got to do it, Mohsen.
I'm glad I did. Because that way I do not feel I've totally failed my fellow human, you know.
But on the flip side also, I think, you know, your way of doing it this way, you're probably reaching more people than if you were to have a university, because not everyone from around the world would be able to attend. So in having your knowledge documented into an online library, it definitely has further reach, I think. So, and then it's getting to the people that really want it, you know.
Well, you can get involved in some of this. I have a lady who's volunteered to do the website. You can come in and express opinion about some of the, you know, things and get involved. Later, we're going to have, I like to have trips. I like to have, maybe we bring them to Australia. By the way, I was in Uluru.
Yeah, I know. I remember you telling me.
Yeah, and so, you know, I didn't go back and piss them off. He's actually your neighbor. She's right in your town. And
oh, really?
They were
There you go.
They got so upset. I mean, she got so, I don't want to come. Leave me alone. Just because I came last time. They got so disappointed. But anyway, just because of that, nothing else, you know? Anyway, but also I don't like people who charge extensively. You know, we don't do that. If we ever get into fundraising, it's for building it. It's going to go there. Yeah. Some may go to people who need the money. You know, their children, if they want to be involved. You know, we can't just say no, you can't be involved because you happen to have 2 children. You know, but then they need some sort of stipend to live on. You know, I mean that kind of stuff. You know, and then there are some expenses. You know, if you're going to go in a you know, conference, you know, you have to pay for the hotels, you know, lecture halls, stuff like that. But it's going to be minimal. I don't want to make money. I don't need money. I may even put more of my retirement into it. So anyway, too much said. TMI. Okay, my dear. Thank you very much for your time and your effort. You did a wonderful job. And if you would like to just say your last word to the public and just say goodbye to them, and then we'll just terminate at this point.
I think I'd just like to say, if you have any further questions, as I mentioned at the start of the recording, the best thing to do is just to go to Mohsen's papers and have a look through. Everything's referenced there. Even just start at one paper, and as I mentioned, you know, all the reference points are in there, and it just kind of takes you on a journey of learning, finding information, and then as you saw, like at the start when I was reading this paper, you start going off in tangents and going, oh, maybe I want to go and start learning in this direction. So all the information's there, and I suppose for people who are in the early stages of their awakening, or have even had sleep paralysis or any kind of weird and traumatizing dreams, and you're not really sure where it came from. In my experience, a lot of that has got to do with being attacked by these entities, and there's lots of different, from my experience, there's also a hierarchy of entities that you deal with. There's all of these little minions that they have that come out and get you, that can come in different forms. And when you're thinking about negative aliens, it's not just some big scary great alien that you see. It's can come in many different forms. You don't really know, but I suppose one thing to understand is especially with this new age stuff, is that if you're tapping into someone who you think might be a spirit guide or something like that, oftentimes, unfortunately, it's not. So if you don't get that feeling of love coming through, that overwhelming sense of love coming from an entity, it's highly likely they don't have your best interest at heart. So something to keep in mind there as well. And that's pretty much all I have to say, really. And I suppose if there's any other questions, then you can comment onto the video. But I would highly recommend just going to Mohsen's papers and having a look. And Mohsen, I don't know, are you going to provide the link to this paper in the YouTube?
Absolutely. Every of the recording comes with the link underneath. So
okay, fantastic.
Not only one place, two places, academia and also the WordPress. And as soon as our website comes up, even that.
Yeah.
You can go back and add it to these videos.
Amazing.
And
perfect.
There's going to be videos on everything, hopefully, you know. We just need people such as yourself who would be enthusiastic to come in and do it for their own sake and also service to the public, you know. Because once you read it, you know what I'm saying? Participating and all this. So anyway, again, thank you very much. Pleasure meeting you. And
lovely to chat, Mohsen.
And get in touch with me anytime you want.
Okay, you too. Thank you, Mohsen. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.